This is a 2013 Cadillac ATS with the 3.6 V6. Let's try this part. Well, that didn't fix it. Let's try that part. Well, that didn't fix it. And some odd $1,000 later, it's still not fixed.
They shine in the showroom, turn heads on the road, and make you feel like you're driving pure luxury. But once you own them, the truth hits. Expensive looks, cheap reality. These cars may appear high-end with their badges and sleek curves, but under the hood, they're nothing but headaches waiting to happen. Here are 14 cars that look expensive, but are actually cheap junk. Number 14. BMW 7 Series E65/E66. The BMW 7 Series once symbolized pure luxury. The car executives chose when they wanted to make an impression. Its muscular stance, long wheelbase, and lavish interiors screamed wealth. But behind that prestige lies one of BMW's most troublesome creations. Owners quickly learned that this luxury limousine was hiding a laundry list of problems. The early 2000s E65 and E66 models introduced BMW's new iDrive system, a confusing, glitch-filled experiment that constantly malfunctioned. Electronics failed randomly, dashboards lit up like Christmas trees, and the repair bills were nightmarish. Even the powerful V8 and V12 engines, which should have been the car's strength, became a weakness due to oil leaks, coolant issues, and failing gaskets. The complex air suspension? Another ticking time bomb. What makes it worse is depreciation. The 7 Series loses value faster than almost any luxury sedan. You might find one today for the price of a used Corolla. But that bargain quickly turns into a financial sinkhole. Every visit to the mechanic feels like signing a blank check. So while it may still look like a VIP's ride from the outside, most smart buyers now know better. The BMW 7 Series E65/E66 is a luxury trap disguised as a dream. Number 13. Jaguar XF 2009 to 2015. When Jaguar launched the XF, it was supposed to be a statement. British luxury reborn. The design was striking, the interior elegant, and that growling engine note gave it a sense of prestige. From the outside, it looked like something that could compete with the finest German sedans. But beneath all that beauty, the XF turned out to be a ticking reliability bomb. For starters, the electrical system was notoriously fragile. Owners reported flickering headlights, failing sensors, and random warning lights that never seemed to go away. The car's fancy retractable gear selector, a circular dial that rose from the center console, looked cool at first until it stopped working. Many drivers were left stranded, unable to even put the car in gear. Then came the transmission issues. The automatic gearbox, which should have delivered silky smooth shifts, often jerked or lagged. Repairs weren't cheap either. Parts availability and labor costs could quickly add up to several $1,000s, sometimes more than the car's resale value itself. To make matters worse, the XF's diesel variants were plagued with EGR valve failures, turbocharger issues, and clogged DPF systems. Combine that with poor build quality and plastic trim that didn't age well, and you have a car that aged faster than a carton of milk in the sun. Today, you can buy a used Jaguar XF for shockingly low prices. But anyone who's owned one will tell you, it's a car that looks rich, feels special for a month or two, and then drains your wallet like no tomorrow. Number 12. Mercedes-Benz C-Class 2010 to 2014. The Mercedes-Benz C-Class is one of those cars that effortlessly turns heads. Sleek lines, bold headlights, and that iconic three-pointed star on the grille. Everything about it says luxury. But if you've ever owned one from the 2010 to 2014 generation, you already know the truth. It's a nightmare wrapped in a silver badge. At first glance, it feels like a smaller version of the S-Class. Plush leather seats, elegant wood trim, and that soft door thud. It's convincing. But the illusion starts falling apart fast. The C-Class of this era was built during a time when Mercedes was cutting costs, and the result was a luxury car that aged poorly. Inside, the plastics creaked, buttons wore out quickly, and many owners complained about rattling noises that appeared after just a few thousand miles. Under the hood, the problems multiplied. Timing chain tensioners were a common failure, leading to catastrophic engine damage if ignored. The transmissions were unpredictable, rough shifting, slipping gears, or simply refusing to engage at all. Then there's the electronics. Mercedes loaded this generation with complex systems, command infotainment, adaptive lights, and automatic climate control. And almost all of them had a tendency to malfunction. Fixing them? Prepare to spend big. Even basic repairs like replacing control modules or sensors can cost more than maintaining a reliable Japanese car for an entire year. To make it worse, these cars depreciated hard. What was once a $45,000 sedan can now be found on used lots for less than $8,000. Sounds tempting until you realize the repair bill might cross that in just a year. It's a car that looks like a status symbol but behaves like a spoiled diva. High maintenance, unpredictable, and impossible to trust. Number 11. Chrysler 300. At first glance, the Chrysler 300 looks like a luxury sedan straight out of a gangster movie. The bold grille, the muscular stance, and the long body scream executive power. It gives the impression of a car that could rival high-end German brands. And that's exactly what Chrysler wanted you to think. Unfortunately, the illusion fades the moment you start living with it. The 300's biggest problem? Build quality. Despite its intimidating looks, it's largely made of cheap materials. The interior plastics feel hard and hollow. The leather cracks early, and the chrome trim tends to peel off after a few summers. The ride might seem smooth at first, but underneath, it's built on outdated architecture that shares DNA with old Mercedes models from the early 2000s. Then come the reliability woes. The transmission is known to jerk and slip. Electrical components fail randomly. And even the air conditioning system, something you wouldn't think twice about, can give up without warning. The V6 versions lack the performance to match the car's imposing body, while the V8 HEMI versions drink fuel like there's no tomorrow. And let's not forget the suspension issues. Many owners report clunking noises, worn bushings, and steering play after just a few years. Combine that with the car's heavy weight and poor visibility, and it becomes clear the Chrysler 300 might look like a boss's car, but it drives more like a bargain rental. Depreciation hit hard too. The 300's resale value dropped fast, mostly because people realized it's all show and little substance. It's a perfect example of how bold styling can't hide cheap engineering. Number 10. Audi A6, 2012 to 2016. The Audi A6 has always carried a reputation for sleek sophistication, sharp lines, LED running lights, and that unmistakable German luxury look. It's the kind of car that makes you feel important, just sitting in it. But for many owners of the 2012 to 2016 models, that confidence didn't last long. Beneath the elegant design lies a car that's as fragile as it is beautiful. Let's start with the engine. The 2.0-liter turbocharged models, which were incredibly popular, are notorious for excessive oil consumption. Some owners report adding a quart of oil every few hundred miles, a costly and frustrating routine. Even after Audi issued fixes, the problem persisted for many, often leading to expensive rebuilds or replacements. The 3.0-liter supercharged V6 engines, while powerful, came with their own demons: timing chain tensioner failures, water pump leaks, and thermostat malfunctions. The result? Sky-high maintenance bills that can easily top a few $1,000s. Then there's the infamous DSG transmission. What was meant to be a technological marvel, lightning-fast shifts and precision performance, often turned into a headache. Jerky gear changes, hesitation, and transmission control module failures were common complaints. Audi's advanced electronics didn't help either. Sensors, infotainment units, and MMI systems were prone to random glitches the dealers struggled to diagnose. The cabin, while luxurious, was filled with delicate materials that didn't age gracefully. Leather peeled, buttons wore out, and door trims warped under the heat. Combine that with an air suspension that could collapse at any time, and you've got a car that costs a fortune to keep on the road. Yes, the A6 still looks like a $60,000 machine. But the moment you start maintaining one, you'll wish you'd stuck with something simpler. It's proof that not every German badge equals reliability or quality. Number 9. Infiniti Q50. The Infiniti Q50 is a car that turns heads wherever it goes. With its sculpted lines, aggressive front fascia, and luxury badge, it looks like the perfect mix of style and performance. On paper, it had everything: powerful engines, a smooth ride, and a futuristic interior. But in reality, the Q50 ended up being one of the most frustrating luxury sedans money could buy. The first and biggest disappointment was the steering system. Infiniti tried to revolutionize driving by introducing direct adaptive steering, a fully electronic setup with no physical connection between the steering wheel and the wheels. Sounds high-tech, right? In practice, it was a disaster. The system made the car feel artificial and unpredictable, with inconsistent feedback that confused even experienced drivers. Many said it felt like driving a video game, not a real car. Next came the infotainment system, a dual-screen layout that looked futuristic but worked like a decade-old tablet. Slow responses, freezing screens, and outdated software made even basic tasks like changing radio stations an ordeal. The reliability issues didn't stop there. Early Q50 models suffered from fuel pump failures, turbocharger problems, and random check engine lights that left owners guessing. Even though Infiniti shared components with Nissan, repairs weren't cheap. Many dealerships charged luxury brand rates for what was essentially a dressed-up Nissan underneath. Then there's depreciation. The Q50 loses value shockingly fast, and for good reason. As the problems piled up, resale prices plummeted. You can find one today for a fraction of its original sticker price. But don't let that fool you. The maintenance costs are anything but cheap. The Infiniti Q50 might look like a Japanese alternative to BMW or Mercedes, but it's more of a reminder that looks can deceive. It's stylish, yes, but reliability and refinement? Nowhere to be found. Number 8. Cadillac ATS. When Cadillac launched the ATS, it was supposed to be America's answer to the BMW 3 Series, a small, sporty luxury sedan that could blend style, performance, and refinement. And visually, they nailed it. The ATS had a bold front grille, sharp LED lights, and a sleek profile that screamed executive luxury. But once you got past the first impression, the illusion began to crumble fast. Let's start with the engine and transmission, two areas that should have made the ATS shine. Instead, they became its downfall. The 2.0-liter turbocharged engine was known for timing chain issues, oil leaks, and even complete engine failure in extreme cases. The gearbox, too, wasn't spared. Many owners reported rough shifts, hesitation, or gear slipping. For a car marketed as a driver's machine, it often felt clunky and inconsistent on the road. Then came the electronics. Cadillac packed the ATS with its CUE infotainment system, which looked high-end but functioned terribly. The touchscreen would freeze, the volume control would stop responding, and the navigation system was so slow it became a running joke among owners. Simple tasks like connecting your phone or changing a song could test your patience. Inside, the quality didn't live up to its luxury image either. While it looked premium at first glance, the plastics and leather wore down quickly. Door panels rattled, dashboard trim lifted, and the interior started to creak as early as 30,000 miles. On the mechanical side, suspension and steering issues became common. Bushings wore out early, and alignment problems led to uneven tire wear, another expense on top of everything else. Today, the Cadillac ATS can be found for shockingly cheap prices on the used market. But that deal hides a long list of headaches. It's one of those cars that perfectly shows how a luxury badge and a fancy design can't cover up poor engineering. Number 7. Range Rover Evoque. Few cars make a stronger visual statement than the Range Rover Evoque. Compact, elegant, and fashion-forward, it's the kind of SUV that turns heads in city traffic and looks just as good in a luxury mall parking lot. It's one of those vehicles that make you think, wow, that person must be doing really well. But for those who've actually owned one, the story couldn't be more different. The Evoque is a classic example of a car that promises sophistication but delivers frustration. Beneath that stylish shell lies a mountain of mechanical and electrical problems. The transmission is one of its biggest offenders. Owners often complain about harsh shifts, delayed gear engagement, and total gearbox failure, sometimes before even hitting 60,000 miles. Replacing it costs a fortune, often more than the car's entire resale value. The turbocharged engines, especially in early models, are notorious for oil leaks, turbo failures, and overheating. Coolant system issues are common too, leading to costly repairs that can quickly spiral out of control. Combine that with fragile electronics, from malfunctioning door handles to unresponsive touchscreens, and you've got a luxury SUV that spends more time in the workshop than on the road. And don't let the Range Rover badge fool you. The Evoque might look ready for adventure, but off-road, it's more decorative than durable. Many owners report suspension faults, warning lights that never go away, and endless system errors related to its fancy terrain response system. Inside, the interior feels high-end at first, but it doesn't age well. Leather cracks, trim pieces peel, and rattles begin to appear surprisingly early. Depreciation is brutal too. A car that once cost over $50,000 can now be found for under $15,000. and that price drop says it all. The Range Rover Evoque is living proof that luxury design can't hide mechanical weakness. It looks like wealth, but drives like a wallet drain. Number 6. Lexus CT 200h. At first glance, the Lexus CT 200h looks like a sophisticated compact hatchback. Sharp angles, a bold front grille, and that unmistakable Lexus badge that screams reliability and refinement. You'd expect it to deliver the same polished experience as the brand's larger luxury sedans. But the CT 200h turned out to be one of Lexus's most disappointing creations. A car that looked premium but felt cheap the moment you drove it. Underneath that stylish shell lies the same hybrid system as the Toyota Prius. Now, that might sound good for reliability, but it also means the CT 200h inherited all the dullness and lack of excitement that comes with the Prius. Despite its luxury appearance, it's painfully underpowered. The 1.8-liter engine struggles on highways, acceleration is sluggish, and merging into fast traffic feels like asking too much. The ride quality is another letdown. Unlike other Lexus models known for their comfort, the CT 200h rides stiff and harsh, especially over rough roads. It feels more like an economy car with a luxury badge slapped on. And while the interior looks premium in photos, the reality is a mix of cheap plastics and tight, uncomfortable seats. Road noise is also more noticeable than you'd expect in a luxury car. Then there's the infotainment system, outdated, clunky, and frustrating to use. The touch controller feels awkward, and the screen graphics look like something from the early 2000s. Owners also complained about limited space, both in the back seats and the cargo area, making it impractical for daily use. Sure, the CT 200h is reliable, but reliability alone doesn't make it a good car. It's a perfect example of a vehicle that tricks you with its looks, but fails to deliver on comfort, performance, or luxury. It's a Lexus that doesn't feel like a Lexus, and that's the ultimate disappointment. Number 5. Volkswagen CC. The Volkswagen CC, short for Comfort Coupe, was designed to look like a luxury four-door coupe at a fraction of the cost of a Mercedes CLS. And at first glance, it succeeded. With its swooping roofline, elegant proportions, and refined styling, the CC looked every bit like a high-end European sedan. But, as many owners found out, that elegance was only skin-deep. Underneath, the CC shared most of its parts with the Volkswagen Passat. And not the good parts either. The engines, especially the 2.0-liter turbocharged one, were plagued with oil consumption issues, timing chain tensioner failures, and PCV valve malfunctions. It's not uncommon for owners to find themselves topping off oil between fill-ups, or dealing with check engine lights that just won't disappear. And when those timing components fail, which they often do, it's game over for the engine. The DSG transmission, one of Volkswagen's signature features, added another layer of pain. While smooth in theory, in real-world use it became jerky, hesitant, and costly to repair. Solenoid failures, clutch pack wear, and mechatronic unit breakdowns were all too common. Then there's the electrical system, infamous for random gremlins. Malfunctioning sensors, faulty window regulators, flickering lights, and broken door locks were frequent complaints. And to top it off, the car's sleek roofline, while beautiful compromised headroom in the back, and created terrible visibility. Inside, the cabin looked premium with its leather and brushed aluminum accents, but the materials didn't hold up. Buttons peeled, trim cracked, and even the seats began to sag with age. Add to that a suspension setup that wears out quickly, and you're left with a car that's expensive to fix and difficult to sell. The Volkswagen CC is the definition of deceptive design. Luxury looks on the outside, cheap and unreliable engineering on the inside. What once looked like a smart alternative to a German luxury car turned into one of the most regretted purchases in the used car market. Number 4. Acura ILX. The Acura ILX was supposed to be a gateway into the world of luxury. A compact sedan that looked refined, carried the Acura badge, and promised a premium driving experience at an affordable price. And visually, it worked. The ILX looked elegant, sporty, and mature, with a front design that borrowed heavily from its bigger, more expensive siblings. But once you got behind the wheel, the illusion shattered fast. That's because, underneath, the ILX was little more than a rebadged Honda Civic with fancier clothes. And not even the new generation Civic. The early ILX models borrowed from an outdated platform, making the driving experience feel old and uninspired right from launch. The base engine, a 2.0-liter four-cylinder, struggled to move the car with any real authority. It felt sluggish, unresponsive, and underpowered, a problem only partially fixed by the later 2.4-liter upgrade. Even then, the engine needed to be revved hard to feel alive, which killed fuel economy and comfort. The ride wasn't much better. Despite its luxury label, the suspension felt stiff, and road noise constantly crept into the cabin. Then there's the interior, one of the biggest disappointments. While it looked premium in photos, the materials felt cheap and plasticky in person. The dual-screen infotainment setup was a usability nightmare. Slow, confusing, and dated the moment it launched. The tech that was supposed to make the ILX feel modern ended up making it frustrating. Reliability was decent, but even that couldn't justify the price tag. Because at the end of the day, buyers realized they were paying luxury money for an economy car in disguise. The Acura ILX tried hard to look like a compact executive sedan, but it never delivered the refinement or comfort that true luxury brands offer. It's the perfect example of a car that promises a premium experience and gives you a dressed-up Civic instead. Number 3. Lincoln MKZ. When the Lincoln MKZ first hit the market, it looked like a breath of fresh air for American luxury. The sleek, futuristic grille, sculpted body lines, and glowing LED taillight bar gave it a modern, upscale appearance. From a distance, it seemed like Lincoln had finally built something that could stand shoulder to shoulder with European luxury sedans. But once you lived with it, the MKZ quickly revealed itself as a classic case of style over substance. Underneath that shiny exterior, the MKZ shared its platform and many components with the Ford Fusion. That wasn't entirely bad. The Fusion was a decent car, but it meant the MKZ never felt truly luxurious. The ride was firm, the handling average, and the steering lacked the refinement expected in a premium sedan. It looked expensive, but drove like a mid-range family car trying too hard. Then came the tech troubles. The car's signature feature, the My Lincoln Touch infotainment system, was one of the most complained-about setups of its time. Slow, glitchy, and unresponsive, it frustrated owners who just wanted basic functionality. Climate controls would freeze, navigation would crash, and Bluetooth would disconnect at random. All things that don't exactly scream luxury experience. Mechanically, the MKZ wasn't much better. The transmission was known for hard shifting and jerky operation, especially in early models. The turbocharged EcoBoost engines had their fair share of issues too, including oil leaks and premature turbo failure. And while the hybrid variant promised fuel savings, it came with battery and software glitches that made it anything but stress-free. Inside, the MKZ tried to look high-end with leather and wood accents, but the build quality didn't hold up. Panels creaked, trim pieces loosened, and cheap plastics reminded you that this was more Ford than Lincoln. Depreciation hit hard too. What once sold for $40,000 can now be found for under $10,000. A clear sign that buyers quickly realized the MKZ's luxury was mostly an illusion. The Lincoln MKZ is the definition of a car that looks rich but feels average. A shiny shell with not much underneath. Number 2. Maserati Ghibli. If there's one car that perfectly captures the phrase, "looks expensive but is cheap junk," it's the Maserati Ghibli. Sleek Italian styling, a growling exhaust note, and that trident badge on the grille. Everything about it screams prestige. Park it next to any German sedan, and the Ghibli will steal the show. But once the engine starts and the bills start rolling in, the fantasy collapses. The Ghibli was Maserati's attempt to create a more affordable luxury sedan, aiming to compete with the BMW 5 Series and Mercedes E-Class. And that's exactly where things went wrong. To cut costs, Maserati borrowed heavily from Chrysler's parts bin. That means under all that Italian flair lies a mishmash of components, some of which are the same ones you'd find in a Dodge or a Jeep. The interior, while visually striking, hides this reality. Many of the buttons, switches, and even the infotainment system are straight out of older Chrysler models. So, while the leather and stitching look premium, the tactile experience feels oddly cheap for a car that once cost over $70,000. Then there's the reliability, or lack thereof. The twin-turbo V6 engine sounds glorious, but has a reputation for oil leaks, sensor failures, and random check engine lights. The transmission, sourced from ZF, is smooth, but prone to software glitches that cause jerky shifting. Owners often report electrical faults ranging from non-functional parking sensors to failing infotainment systems. And maintenance? Astronomical. Even basic services cost thousands, and parts availability is a nightmare. Depreciation hits like a hammer too. A 5-year-old Ghibli can lose more than half its value, often selling for less than a new Toyota Camry. The Maserati Ghibli is a prime example of automotive deception. A masterpiece in design, but a mess in execution. It looks like pure class, but behind the badge is a car that behaves like a spoiled diva. Beautiful to look at, disastrous to live with. Number 1. Fiat 500X. The Fiat 500X is one of those cars that tricks you the moment you see it. With its charming Italian design, rounded edges, and upscale styling, it looks like a premium compact crossover that could compete with Mini or even Audi. It gives off a chic, city luxury vibe, the kind of car you imagine parked outside a cafe or cruising along the coast. But once you own one, reality hits hard. Underneath that pretty exterior lies the same platform used in Jeep Renegades. And that's where the problems begin. The 500X suffers from poor build quality, unreliable electronics, and inconsistent performance. The transmission, especially the 9-speed automatic used in many models, is infamous for jerky shifts, delays, and sudden failures. Many owners report that the car struggles to find the right gear, making city driving unpredictable and highway driving annoying. The engine doesn't do it any favors either. The 1.4-liter turbo version is underpowered and plagued with oil leaks and turbocharger issues, while the 2.4-liter naturally aspirated option feels sluggish and thirsty. Neither gives the refined or efficient driving experience that its looks promise. Inside, the cabin initially feels stylish. Colorful panels, soft touches, and a modern design. But after a few months, squeaks, rattles, and cheap plastics remind you that it's not built to last. The infotainment system can freeze or reboot unexpectedly, and the electrical gremlins don't stop there. Door locks, sensors, and even backup cameras are prone to failure. The 500X also rides stiffly for a supposed comfortable city SUV, and the steering lacks precision. Combine that with poor resale value, and you've got a car that might look trendy, but quickly turns into an expensive disappointment. The Fiat 500X perfectly sums up this list. It's all about style, but beneath the surface, it's unreliable, uncomfortable, and overpriced for what it offers. It may look like an Italian luxury crossover, but it's really just cheap junk dressed up for attention. At first glance, all these cars look like the dream: elegant lines, premium badges, and that promise of luxury. But dig deeper, and you find that most of them were built to impress, not to last. They lure buyers in with style and status, then leave them with endless repairs, rattling interiors, and plummeting resale values. The truth is, in today's car market, expensive looks don't always mean quality. Sometimes, the smartest choice isn't the car that turns heads. It's the one that keeps running year after year without drama. A dependable, well-built vehicle might not make your neighbors jealous, but it'll definitely save you money, time, and frustration. So before you fall for a glossy badge or a shiny paint job, remember this list. Because when it comes to cars, it's far better to own something real than to drive something that only looks rich.